My name is Travis Jordy. I'm from Rochester, Minnesota, and we have a Waterloo boy at the John Deere Museum. We acquired the Waterloo boy in the mid-'80s, and at that time we bought it, a frame, the wheels, and an engine that I had for it was not correct, so I had to search around for the correct engine for that model tractor. And we got it all put together, and then we put some green paint on it, and some yellow paint, and some red paint. When we acquired the framework, we did not know that it was an early one. And that's why the engine that I had did not fit. It had the wrong dimensions to it. There just wasn't room for it. So that's why we had to go out and find a different engine. And of course it had to be a specific engine that would just fit in that frame. It's the only engine I've seen such as that. And actually the frame and the wheels are specific to this model. They've done such a beautiful job setting all of this up that when you go through, every room you go into is something different, something special. So you see all kinds of things that you haven't seen before. The reason I collected John Deere was that I grew up with them. And my background was that.
The name is Jack Beck. We're from Omaha, Nebraska. We live just on the northwest side of Omaha, Nebraska, on a small acreage. This is a 1928 model GP. I was looking for an early GP. They started production of the GP August 2nd, 1928, and I had a friend introduce me to a young man, Steve Plambeck, who had an early GP that he didn't think he'd ever get around to restoring, and we got together and wound up purchasing this tractor. It was warehoused, according to the research, exactly 2 months into the production run, and so that was one of the reasons I bought it. The other being that the front axle on this tractor is different than on other GPs that I've ever seen. It took us several years to figure this out. It's apparently one of the maybe 50 front axles that John Deere developed when they were experimenting with beat and bean implements on the early GPs. So it may not be the original axle, but as far as we know, it's the only one that actually exists on a tractor at this time. It doesn't have paint because that's the way I like them. I'd rather look for a tractor that has what I call patina. This one has traces of the original John Deere, silk screening of the John Deere, and to me, these tractors have their own character. They're easy to live with. I don't have to worry about scratching the paint. This tractor normally plants corn in the spring with a 3-row planter, and I use it for plowing and other things. And you can always change your mind and paint it, but they only look this way once. I grew up on John Deere. My dad had John Deere 50s. We had 3 of them at one time. I'm sure I've cultivated enough corn with a John Deere 50 to be around the equator at least once. I like John Deere. I like the other marks too, but I'm familiar with the John Deere. Got interested in the early ones, primarily from family photographs of my grandfather and great-grandfather's tractors, which were John Deere's that the family had, and got particularly interested in the GP because my favorite photo of my mother is sitting on my grandfather's GP, and in the background is the barn that was built the year my mother was born in 1919. And Chris approached me about having this tractor in the museum shortly after the concept of the museum came out, and he kept telling me that this tractor was on the short list. And then about a year ago he called and he says, "You're in, we want it." And so here it is. It's a wonderful opportunity to share it, and I'm overwhelmed.
Yeah, my name is Bob Wood, John Deere retiree. I'm working here at the museum as a docent. Yeah, I'm third generation to retire from John Deere. My grandfather worked here in the old foundry back in the old days. I think he started about 1929, retired in 1955. My dad started here as an design engineer in 1947 and retired in 1982. And I started in 1966 in product engineering in the drafting department. Then went to manufacturing engineering and finished out my career in tractor marketing. And my wife also is retired from here in Waterloo. One of the most proud things of our family is my father was a member of the design team that went to what was called the old meat market. It was a building that used to be a meat market that John Deere rented. And they blacked out the windows and they put 20 engineers in there with a blank piece of paper and says, "Design us a new tractor." They were told not to talk to anybody about what they were working on, even their families. So about 6 years later, they came out with the new generation tractor, revolutionized tractor for John Deere and the industry. And they had the huge expo in Dallas, Texas to introduce it. And that's one of my dad's most proud moments of working at John Deere, is being a member of that team. Dad went down to Dallas for the intro, and they were all very proud of it because they said they worked a lot of hours in that 6 years, a lot of different designs to come up with the new generation tractor that really put Deere over the top as far as taking over the leadership in sales worldwide. I think the big thing is to take away of what John Deere has done for this community. This community probably wouldn't be anywhere near what it is today without the longevity and the success of John Deere as an employer here in the Cedar Valley.